This attack looks simple, but getting it to feel right without hard-coding everything posed a significant challenge. To solve this, I built a flexible data-driven animation system in Godot. I'll walk through the decision-making process and the implementation of this system, so feel free to gather ideas for your own game. For context, the game I'm making is an action turn-based JRPG hybrid that requires hundreds of different attacks and animations. This is a Herculean task for a solo dev, so I want a pipeline where I can implement each attack or art incrementally, ideally by brainstorming them in a spreadsheet and then adding them over time. However, some of the arts will require special logic to work, such as the bow and arrow animations that create projectiles. So I need to make sure my system allows for me to add this while keeping the basic stuff plug and play. I also need to avoid adding very specific code to the player script, or else it will become thousands of lines long. To reiterate, I need some sort of way to represent attacks as data, but also have a nice place for specific code to go. Pulling all these requirements together, and pulling from my own experience as a software dev, I landed on an approach that should work. That is, if I were to capture the basic data points for an art into a Godot resource, I could then have the player code dynamically pull from that data while executing the specified art. This not only solves the hard coding problem, but also gives me enough flexibility to define what each attack needs. Plus, since these are Godot resources, they are easier to define as classes, and I can store them in a game's project file in a nice organized manner. So let's see how this idea works in practice. We understand now that we need to build a Godot resource class to represent an art, but what kind of data do arts need? Since my game is a hybrid between an action and turn-based system, frame data is still somewhat important. That means I want to have things like attack canceling, basic movement, and stuff like that. Knowing that, I built this art class by making this GD script file that extends resource, then defining a variety of export variables. I'll highlight a few of the important variables for just getting the animations to work, and we can look at the rest of the system in future videos. Think of this as a reference, not an exact implementation for your game, because your game's needs will differ. To start, the strike frame defines when the attack actually does something. Damage, or in the case of bows, spawning the projectile. Next, the cancel frame is used for attack canceling, which I'll talk about a bit later. Then the metadata animation is the actual animation the player character executes during the attack. To link these, I have to separate the animations when I import them, which I'll cover in the next section. Finally, the metadata animation scene will spawn a scene that represents the attack. This is important for the special logic that some attacks use, like the bow and arrow animations or even spirit arts. Even for the basic sword animation, I use it to spawn a hitbox. Of course, I can add as much as I want here to define what the arts can do, but this is a good start. Let's next look at how I can make the animation resources usable as data, so we can link them to the arts. If you remember from my animation workflow video, I created a variety of separate animation files in Blender, which I then imported into Godot as GLTF files. All you need to know for this video though is I created a bunch of animations, one per art, and import them as animation libraries. Now I just need to have Godot save them as separate files so I can drag and drop them into my art resources later. To do this, I opened the advanced import settings on one of the animation GLTF files. Then I went to Actions, Set Animation Save Paths, then picked a save location next to the main animation file. I made sure to save them as TRES files and not RES files, so they work better with version control as text files. With the animations saved as separate files, let's now look at how an art is made. Here I'll show an example of the basic sword attack that I already have, but if you want to make a resource of your own, you can create one by right-clicking and selecting Create New Resource. Since the art class is defined, it should appear in the list. As you can see, after setting the core parameters of the art, I dragged the basic sword animation into the metadata animation parameter, and the hitbox scene into the metadata animation scene parameter. So now the art is completely set up. By the way, the sword hitbox scene looks like this. You'll notice it's quite large, but that's intentional. In game, based on the camera angle, you'll notice that it looks like the player is hitting the enemy, but the sword swing isn't actually connecting. This is where game feel comes in. If it looks like the player should hit the enemy, let him hit him. This is only the first step though. Next I have to create a system where the animation can be loaded as the player executes the art. This is where it gets a little more complex though, because I need to wire an animation system that allows for both the character's basic locomotion as well as the attacks when fired. I found that a combination of using Godot's AnimationTree system and having some logic in the code, I was able to swap between the two nicely. This also saves me from painful work with a state machine that has every attack animation in it, which you know would be impractical for hundreds of animations. Here's the animation tree. To support the art animation hot swapping, I made this current attack node. As you'll see later, I can actually set the animation in place to be the current executing art here. I also added the basic locomotion as a blend space 1D, so moving the slider between 0 and 1 blends between the idle and the run animation. One thing to note, I added these basic locomotion animations to the character's animation player so that they could be accessed here, but I don't need to do this with the art animations because I'll load them at runtime. To make the swapping work between the locomotion and the attack, I added this transition node. Here I set two parameters, attack and idle walk. So by switching the variable, Godot will swap the character into an attacking state or an idle walking state. One thing to keep in mind about the animation tree, when you create a node, you can access a lot more options in the inspector panel. For example, the transition doesn't do much on its own, but in the inspector panel, you can add as many inputs as you want. Notice here I set the auto advance on the attack transition, as when the attack ends, I want the player to go back to the idle walk state, but the inverse is not desired. I don't want the idle walk state to transition into the attack state when the animation ends. We'll control the transition via code instead. In addition, I also added a crossfade time of 0.1 seconds, so it won't just directly jump between animations but blend them slightly. This completes the setup for the arts and the animation tree. Let's take a look at the code now to tie this all together. Inside the player class's ready function, I wrote some code to pull the art resources directly from the weapons and construct a new animation library. In my game, the arts are equipped to weapons, so that's why I wrote it that way. Your game may be different, but that's totally cool. Just loop through whatever array contains your character's attacks and you should get the same result. Also, FYI, don't worry about all the code I have here. I'll highlight the important bits going forward. The key idea isn't the syntax, it's that the player doesn't know what attacks it has ahead of time. One thing that's neat here is that by creating an animation library on the fly, I can attach it to the animation player the character has and access the animations just as I would if they were added there in the editor. Just to show how animations are attached to the library, this load animation function will do that. With the animations now loaded, it's time to implement the hot swapping logic. To hot swap the animations at runtime, I'll need to be able to access the desired animation from the animation player, but also need to access the current attack node from the animation tree from before. But once we know how to access it, it's easy enough to set the animation we want based on the executed art. I have this execute art function that will be called when the player presses one of the 4 attack buttons. This code will be responsible for setting the animation tree up with the proper animation. This line here does that. We can use the passed-in art to determine which animation to play, and since we create the library dynamically, we know exactly how to access it from the animation player. Then we tell the animation tree to trigger the attack animation via the transition node. Just a tip, if you're ever working with animation tree nodes in code, it's often a pain in the neck to find what they actually set, since they all have these parameter paths. If you were to go back to the editor, you can find the parameter path pretty easily just by selecting the tree in the inspector, finding the variables section, and then hovering over the one you want. Here the parameter can be set to idle walk or attack, so I now know how to set it in the code. And that's pretty much the gist of the animation logic in my game so far. What's nice is that the player class can load everything dynamically, so it doesn't matter what arts I assign to my character. It'll all work. But before we wrap up the video, I wanted to show the attack canceling logic as it's something I'm really excited about. In a nutshell, attack canceling means that the next attack in the combo can be input before the animation of the current one fully completes. It's used in a lot of fighting games and honestly makes the game feel much smoother. Right before the player executes the attack, there's a little bit of filtering logic that I added. This is because I want to check a few things, such as if the character has enough energy, if the character is actually able to attack, and if the character is within the cancel threshold of the attack. To check if the cancel can be done, I have this code here that looks at the animation tree's current position through the current attack node, converted to frames. Then I check if the frame is less than the defined cancel frame on the art. If it is, I return out of the function, effectively stopping the character from executing the art. Otherwise, the check passes and the character will automatically activate the next attack. This gives me fighting game style cancels without embedding logic into the animation itself. That pretty much wraps up the implementation of the animation system in my game's combat system. But did it work as well as I hoped? On a surface level, yes it did. I was able to define each art as a resource, which I really liked because now I could see which ones I actually implemented and which ones I did not. It also works well if I were to swap out arts in my character's weapons, which makes testing it quite useful. And of course, not having to build a nasty state machine is a huge bonus, as I can add a bunch of arts to the game without worrying about hooking them up tightly to the character. However, in practice, it's not a perfect solution. Right now, the game only loads the arts that are attached to the character scene directly, so if I wanted to change the arts list at runtime, it wouldn't work. In addition, I will have to build some code to sync my spreadsheets with the actual Godot resources, which will take some time in the future. I'll make a video on it, of course, once I'm able to figure it out. For now, it's imperfect, but it lets me move forward, which is more than enough for making a working prototype. Thank you all who decided to stay until the end. It means a lot to me that strangers on the internet would turn into fans of my work, and I hope to keep delivering for you. But in the meantime, if you want to add some sauce to your game, watch the video on jiggle physics I have. Or if you want to make your characters more expressive, check out the one on shape keys. As always, I hope you have a great rest of your day.